This is Conway, South Carolina, the only place I've ever known as home. I was born here. I went to school here. When I was 17 years old, I was murdered here. And no one knows who did it, except for me. When I was a little girl, it all seemed so simple. Love your mama and your daddy, study your lessons, treat your friends nice.
Crystal was very easygoing. She loved everybody.
I had good memories just being with her. She was my life, I'll tell you what. Anything we done, we had fun together.
Daddy died when I was 11, so it was just me and Mama.
She had the bluest eyes of anybody I've ever seen in my life. It's hardly ever the skies as blue as her eyes were.
Now, Mama is on her own. The night I died started out like any other Saturday. I went out with my friends, like I always did.
Kids around here, they usually park their car and they all pile into one car and go ride around, whatever. And they cruise around, talk with their friends, just very innocent fun.
But when I missed my 12 o'clock curfew, my mama knew something was wrong. I don't know how she knew, but she did.
I called 911.
Communication spill?
I told them if they seen Crystal's car anywhere, I want them to stop it, because I be something wrong with it.
Respond to report of a missing person.
147, go ahead.
17 years old, white female, 5'3".
I responded to the call. When I arrived, I found Bonnie Faye Todd, Crystal Faye Todd's mother, and she stated that Crystal didn't come home that night.
Cops don't get too worked up about kids coming home late on a Saturday night. But this time, I think they probably should have.
And I assured her everything was going to be okay. She probably just stayed overnight with friends or something.
Mama called my closest friends to see if I was with them.
I called Carla and Ken, and nobody didn't know where she was at. Ken called me back just a few minutes, says, I've called the hospital. She said, neither one.
I wasn't in a hospital, and I wasn't at a party. I was someplace far, far worse. But they would find that out soon enough.
In the morning, we received a call from 2 hunters stating that they saw the body of a female lying in a ditch. Immediately taped off the scene and called Detective Bill Knowles.
What we got? The body was discovered in a ravine ditch some 8 to 10 feet from a large pool of blood that was located in the center of the roadway. You can see obvious drag marks to the ravine in which the body was discovered. About 5 to 6 feet below the level of the roadway, you could clearly see the body of a female. After we removed her from the ravine area in a body bag, we removed a high school ring, and there was an inscription inside, Crystal Faye Todd.
I remember the phone rang, and my mom started screaming. She said, "Oh no, Crystal's dead. She's been murdered." Nothing like that had ever happened in Conway. Everybody knew everybody, and it was just hard to believe, hard to comprehend.
I took it very personal because I've got 3 daughters. Standing over a body, I made a commitment to her that We were going to find out what happened to her that night.
I know who killed me. The dead always do. My killer knows what he did, and I know what he did. But for now, those detectives have to figure it out from all the clues that got left behind.
We recovered some blood evidence for future analysis. We documented the area of photography. We did everything within our power to determine who may be responsible for this.
It's crazy when a young girl's murdered. You get the whole police force trying to figure out who killed you, because someone else's daughter might be next.
The first real break in the case was the discovery of her vehicle, parked in a parking lot at a local middle school.
My car was hard to miss. The license plate had my name on it. Mama gave it to me for an early graduation gift.
Her car was intact. There was no evidence of a struggle. There was no blood, no fiber, no hair evidence to indicate that she had been forcibly abducted from the car. There's no question in our minds that she probably knew who she left with and trusted that individual.
The cops got it right. I would never get in a car with a stranger. The problem was, I thought I knew who to trust. But I was wrong. When I first got my car, I drove it all over town. I rolled the windows down, turned the radio up. I couldn't wait to turn 18 and be free forever. But then, somebody took my freedom away.
With Crystal Faye Todd's murder, quite frankly, we were at a loss after the first 24 hours.
There was all these speculations of, you know, who in the world could possibly do this?
There was a lot of rumors about what had happened to her. You know, the idea that there may have been some satanic cult.
And we suspected everybody. Even my own family we suspected.
Even before it happened, he had his eye on me. Watching, planning, waiting for his chance.
We did a victimology on Crystal, trying to find out something about her. We went to the high school and through guidance counselors met with students. She was just a normal 17-year-old kid.
I would have graduated that spring. I wanted to be a nurse or something where I could help people.
There was nothing that stood out about her as far as her habits or extracurricular activities other than she just had a strong family life and she was just a good kid.
I didn't have any enemies, so what kind of person would want to kill me? The detectives all had their own theories.
We knew that we were looking for, in all likelihood, a white male. We felt that it was probably going to be someone in their early 20s or late teens, someone that probably worked in the construction industry, and someone that was very strong. What this person was just plain mad dog mean. I mean, he is a sadistic person who is self-centered, and it was all about what he wanted to do that night. This was not a random act that just happened and wasn't going to happen again. It was going to occur again. Somebody else was going to die if we didn't catch who did this.
So far, I'm the only one. But if they don't stop him, I know he's going to do it again.
That was one of the things that drove us so hard, you know, working 16, 18-hour days, 7 days a week. We checked her room at her house. We went through her notebooks from school. One particular name became of interest to us was Andrew Von Tyndall.
In Crystal's notes, you know, that when they examined her locker and all, she had some, you know, Crystal plus Andy, and some of her friends remember her having a crush on this guy.
So we did a little more checking and found out that he was employed in the area, lived in the area, and in fact had come to know Crystal just a week or so prior to her death through another classmate.
Andy was one of those older guys who got his kicks hanging out with high school girls. You know the type.
He was a bodybuilder, he worked out, you know, he was in good shape. I don't swing that way, but I mean, if you look at a picture of him, he was a very attractive man, okay? And I can see why the girls would have a crush on him.
We didn't know Andy was in his 30s and married and wanted by the law.
They investigated and found out that he was a wanted felon from Alabama.
He fit a lot of what the profile said we would be looking for. So he definitely became a person of interest to us.
But before they can talk to Andy, they've got to catch him. The last thing I ever saw was my killer's eyes. I saw anger in them, and lust, and fear. Worst of all, I saw hunger. A hunger to kill again.
All of Conway basically was in a state of fear. You didn't do nothing. You didn't play outside by yourself.
People were very worried and very nervous.
They had every reason to be scared.
We knew that somebody else was going to die if we didn't do something about it.
And now the cops think they know who did it. The cops decided to keep a close eye on Andy. But Andy had other plans.
He spotted a marked police car and took off running.
Andy thought he could outrun the law. And for a few hours, he did. But you can't run forever.
Set up a perimeter around the block of woods or area where the suspect fled into. If we get a good starting spot, the dogs will do their job. We will take care of business.
It was a full-bore effort to find him. The bloodhound stayed on him and got close enough to him that actually he was exhausted by the next morning and telephoned law enforcement to turn himself in.
A man that runs from the law must have something to hide. But things aren't always what they seem.
We actually interviewed him for about 5 hours. Asked him for a DNA profile, which he agreed to do. I felt very confident that he was our man.
He vehemently denied any involvement. You know, they took a DNA sample and sent it off.
Andy Tyndall was identified to me as a very strong suspect. There was evidence collected from the victim's body. There was evidence collected from the scene.
It was very anxious waiting on it to come back.
When I got the results back on Tyndall, I remember saying, it doesn't match. I did not have his DNA on any of the evidentiary samples that were submitted to me.
The cops had it wrong. Andy never hurt me. And my killer was still out there.
It was very dejecting because, quite frankly, we didn't have anywhere else to go. We had completed every investigative thing that we could do correctly and still were no closer to solving her case than the day we actually found her body.
They buried me on a Wednesday. Everyone was there.
That was the worst day of my life, her funeral. I just couldn't stand the thoughts of being out there with her dead.
My friend Ken was there too. He helped carry my coffin.
Ken Register was asked by Crystal's mom to be one of Crystal's pallbearers. And it physically and emotionally affected him during the funeral.
Ken grew up right down the road. We even went on a date a few years back. Till I decided we were better off as friends.
Ken looked like a typical country boy. Yeah, he had a sense of humor. Pretty nice fellow to be around.
When he played on the football team, I stood in the crowd and cheered. And the day after I died, Ken wrapped his arms around my mama and held her tight.
I know that he was close to Bonnie Faye. He was one of the people that she looked to the most for comfort.
Oh, yeah, it's always nice as pie. Mr. Ken would say, anything I can do for you, let me know.
But we have a secret, don't we, Ken? Something nobody knows. Just you and me. I wasn't supposed to leave this world after just 17 years. I should have lived a long and happy life. But someone took it all away.
The only way that we felt very confident we were going to get more evidence is with another body. We had interviewed at that point about 400 people. We had conducted surveillance every way. We took DNA samples from some 51 classmates, associates, or people she'd been in close contact with just prior to her death.
Through it all, Mama knew she could count on my friends. Ken most of all.
Ken come over here about 2 or 3 times a week. He'd come out blowing the horn, waving at me and everything, and all the time asking if he could do anything for me. And
I remember him coming to the house, and he was always asking questions. He was like, well, have you heard anything else? You know, did they have any leaks?
I didn't say so, but I said, how do I know it's not you?
I received a phone call from Miss Todd, and Bonnie Faye mentioned Ken Register's name back to me, and a light went off. We had not asked for a DNA profile from him. So we contacted him and asked him for a DNA profile.
If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you can hide the truth, at least for a while.
We put his sample in with a group of others and drove him to Columbia. There was nothing unusual about Ken Register that stood out.
But the truth always catches you up, one way or another.
His sample was submitted to me later on in the development of the case. As the information went further on, I began to see what I had.
I got a phone call from Lori Johnson. She says, who is this Ken Register? And I told her, I said, you know, he's nobody really special. She says, he's your man. He's positive. It sent cold chills up my spine then, and even does today talking about it.
When they arrested Ken, they learned about his other side.
You know, it started with mutilation of animals, which we found out was in fact true. He exposed himself at Coastal Carolina University. He would stop and buy pornographic material every day going to and from work. So it's a progression. 5 hours and 25 minutes after we started interviewing Register, he confessed to killing Crystal Faye Todd.
Everyone knows now, Ken. How that night you flagged me down and I pulled over. Got in your car like I'd done a few times before. How you took me to Lover's Lane. And then, out of nowhere, you just snapped.
Once she got in his car, her life ended. There is nothing she could have done to stop him from taking her life that night.
Maybe you were mad you couldn't have me. Or maybe the darkness inside you just took over. But there's one thing I do know. You're not gonna do this to another girl, ever again.
There's no question that Register fits into the profile of a serial killer. Fortunately, he was captured after his first murder.
My mama may never know peace, but she can rest easier now, knowing my killer is safely behind bars.
You know, the only time I'm not thinking about Crystal? When I'm asleep. I've even tried to quit dreaming about it. I told God he had to do this. I couldn't handle it. It's too hard for me to handle by myself.
It's a strange world where one of your best friends can kill you. You think you know someone pretty good just because you've always known them, like me and Ken. Turned out, though, I didn't know Ken at all. I'll never go to college, get married, or raise a family. But now that the truth about Ken is out, neither will he.